back. Episode 3, the Motion Cast. We got our second guest, Coach Dubs. J-Dubs here and G-Money. We're all in here. Episode 3. Coach Dubs, welcome. Thank you so much for coming. And the first thing I want to ask you right here, Dubs, give everyone a quick background before we get into everything. Where are you from? What do you do? All that XYZ, and then we'll get into it.
Sure thing. Well, dude, thanks for having me. I'm blessed. I'm not as cool as Noah, and my guest is at work. Dude, I think it's great you guys are doing this, by the way. I think it's awesome. But yeah, I mean, I coach at Florida Southern. I coached these hooligans there for a year, and it was awesome. But born and raised in the Tampa Bay area, and but played, I'm like everybody else, played baseball every day, blah blah blah, and had a really cool opportunity. I guess my start in college baseball, I had a really cool opportunity to work in the baseball program at the University of Florida, and I think I had every job under the sun in my 4 years there, especially all the bad ones, especially at the start. So I was at Florida for 4 years as a student manager, and I was an unbelievable experience. Went to Omaha 3 times, won a national championship, and got my degree from there. And I had an interesting choice leaving Florida. I got into five law schools, so I could go to law school or hopefully stay in baseball, which is what I really wanted to do. And it's ironic. I was, phone calls change your life sometimes. I was packing my U-Haul to live in South St. Pete to go to Stetson Law. That was happening. I had enrolled. I had open house in like a week or something like that. And my phone rang. It was 727 area code. And I had sent applications to like every junior college in the state. Like I knew that would kind of my route to get started and stuff like that. So this is a head coach at St. Pete Junior College, and he wanted a younger guy to help him run the place. And I was like, man, can I really turn down law school to coach junior college baseball? Is that a thing? And after a couple conversations and, mainly with the parents and them yelling at me a little bit, it was a thing. And I was at St. Pete for 2 years and learned a lot. And then I was a grad assistant at St. Leo University. It's where I met Coach Odette for the first time, and we had a pretty good run. And then, I look a lot taller in red, and no one says no to Florida Southern. So when he got the job at Florida Southern, where I came with them, and if I don't have the best job in the world, I'm in second place. I'm super lucky. I'm fortunate every day.
Hell yeah. Love that story. And just to kind of ask a question off that, some people that might be watching this are like, damn, going to law school or being a baseball coach, like what was the deciding factor that really made you want to be a baseball coach over after getting into 5 law schools? Because that's a lot, and that's not an easy thing to do. I couldn't even get into probably half of a law school. So
I think the big thing was, and I would have been really good at it, but I think it would have been very miserable.
Okay.
I've been on a baseball field every day of my entire life. And I don't think that's really that much of an exaggeration. The one thing I always say is I've never one time told people I have work. I've always told them I have baseball. And I don't think that would have been the same thing if I had gone to law school. And that's not to say I wouldn't have enjoyed it, and there weren't things about it I knew I would have enjoyed. But I always say, oh, I've got practice, or I've got a game, or I got a recruiter. I just got baseball. I've never said, well, I can't do this because I've got work. Because that's just how I feel about it. So I think that's kind of how it boils down. I think that's the simplest way to say it.
Yeah, just it's your passion. Okay, yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And when did you kind of realize that? Obviously, you played baseball growing up, but when was it like, all right, I think I want to be a coach? Was there like something that happened, or was it just one day you woke up? Was it over time?
Well, shoot, when you're 5'10" and you're a right-handed hitter and you don't run that great, you're not going to play professional baseball. So it was one of those things where that's your skill set. It's going to be tough to play college baseball, or especially in the state of Florida. And I had some interest from some places up north at small schools, really small schools, and it didn't make academic sense for me to do that, right? Like it was like and I'm not the smartest guy on planet Earth. I make mistakes every day, but it really didn't make sense for me to go play baseball in the cold, which is tough when you're born in Tampa. I mean, I think I got one hoodie in my closet, so I don't, but that would not have been a thing. And it was like, okay, I'm not going to play for much longer, but I love it. Like I love everything about it. So there's something else I got to be able to do. And I think it kind of evolved into that. And I'm super lucky. My high school coach at Plant High School, Coach Braun, who's still there now, my first ever coaching gig, I coached the JV team as a senior in high school at Plant. And we did go 15-0. I'm not bragging.
Okay.
I had some good players, but that was pretty cool.
You coached your senior year of high school?
I coached the JV team. Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah, it was cool.
How was that?
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
You don't hear that very
we
often.
went undefeated. Yeah, we went 15-0.
That's fire.
Yeah, it was really cool. Now we had like we had dudes that went on to play like professional baseball and college baseball. So I was not the straw that stirred the drink in any way, shape, or form. But I was like, oh, like this is cool, and then all of a sudden, like I get into Florida academically, and Coach Braun and had some connections, to a lot of connections in terms of players and just experience up there. And he was like, hey, do you want to do something up there? And it was either that or just go to school there. And it's like, well, I'd be stupid to say no, right? And then when it really hit me, I'll never forget this. I took my first ever college class. It was a Tuesday. It was like pre-calc or some nonsense like that. And I had one class that day. It was from 9:30 to 10:20. And so by 10:35, I'm back in my dorm room at the University of Florida, and I'm sitting in my chair at my desk. And it hit me that this was going to be the first day in my entire life where I was done with school and I was not going to be on a baseball field. Like, and I'm sitting there at my desk and I'm like, okay, I'm bored. Like, I'm bored. Like, you can only be so many weeks ahead on the first day of school, So it was like, this isn't going to work. And I had some talks with them and what I was going to do with them. And I was like, hey, I know you told me to wait a week, but can I come today? So that was my first day of school, was my first day, helping out there. And I think I set up the field and they sent me home because they were had to teach me everything. And that's how it went down. But I mean, it kind of evolved into that. But I would say that was probably the start.
Okay. Oh yeah, no, that's a cool story. And then I'm kind of bouncing around everywhere, but I'm curious about this one because I think a lot of people that were on the team, like our teammates, could agree with this. That I mean, I've had a lot of coaches playing at 5 different schools, probably like 20 different coaches. But I think,
No kidding.
yeah, but I think Dubs that like you are. I'm trying to see how to say this. Like out of all the coaches, like there's such a fine line with you that you can be, I wouldn't say like a friend, but someone that you can like feel comfortable talking to, but you like everyone knows that there's a line to not cross with you because there's still that authority with you. And how have you like come across to like build that? Because I think it's very important because you don't ever want to be the coach. I think at least coming from a player's perspective that you can't talk to them about anything, but you also to be your friend either. You know what I mean? Like is that just your person? That's just who you are? Or?
Well, I think a part of it is, and in a way I'm super lucky because like most people stop playing and if they make the decision to go into coaching, they do it at like 22, 23ish. That's just the way the cookie crumbles eligibility wise, unless you're Mike, then it goes down that like 24, 25, So, but my transition from playing to coaching or playing to not playing, I was kind of in the middle ground a little bit at Florida. I had to interact with both sides of the house. You're a student manager, you got to do what the coaches want, but you also got to interact with the players. That's what the job is. So I started how to learn to do that at 18. So I think that was I was very fortunate to get a little bit of a jump start there. But I mean, it's you can be a decent person and still coach people hard. That's allowed. And just because you're holding people to a standard doesn't mean when practice is over you can't have a conversation with them. And I think that's kind of how I've always been. It's a way to connect with people. Like my go-to thing on recruiting phone calls is, hey, who's your favorite college football team? Because you'd be surprised how easy you get a baseball player talking about college football. Dude, it snaps like that. And all of a sudden, like it flows super quickly after that. I learn everything about you after that, and I learn what you like, what you don't like how you communicate, your mannerisms. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I got a good personality that always helps, but it's one of those things where, okay, if we're working, then we're working. And if we're not, then I don't know, like try to learn something about somebody, probably going to help you, so that's kind of always how I've always gone about it. But I started a little bit earlier. That always helps. And I've been at 3 different levels of college baseball. I've coached junior college baseball. I was at the University of Florida as a student manager. And then been at 2 different Division II institutions. That helps. Because you're getting a bunch of different players. They're not all the same, that's for sure.
I'll tell you what, it definitely helps whenever you're able to interact with like the coaches, because like dealing with some of the Midwest coaches, which most of mine were like old school, like it was just strict business. That's what it seemed like. You couldn't even like you could talk to the coaches, but you kind of felt intimidated to a sense. That's why Florida Southern was awesome, just because, I mean, it probably helped that we were all older. We're all coming in at like 23 years old. So we're all like grown ass men at the time, but like, with TCU, OD, Ray Parr, I mean, it felt like we all had like really good relationships with all you guys and we could literally say whatever was on our mind. But I mean, it did also help. We weren't 18, 19-year-olds at the time.
That's true. I mean, there has to be discipline, right? Like that's not like I wasn't trying to be anyone's friend. I don't need any more friends, that's for sure. But I but I think I mean once the discipline piece is down and everyone kind of knows what's going on. I mean, again, it doesn't cost anything to be a good person. Like if we were working a regular job, there would be times where we're hanging around the water cooler talking about whatever we did this weekend. It doesn't mean we got to get into details about it. And I mean, there's professional lines in anything, but you're still allowed to communicate with people. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make you a less coach because people want to come up to you and ask questions and want to be around you. That's probably the opposite's true.
I have to ask. So whenever you guys made that transition from St. Leo to Florida Southern, going into it, did you guys already kind of have the game plan like we're going to hit the portal hard? Unfortunately, like that year, you guys had the deal with the Division 1 guys could go play
Sure.
Division 2. So was that kind of something that came up in your guys' head? How'd you guys really think about building that team that first year going in there?
Well, the eligibility stuff was perfect timing, right? Because
Mhm.
you had a bunch of guys who could only come down and play Division 2 baseball. I don't know what the reason for that is. That the reasoning for that's kind of strange to me still to this day, but it is what it is. So that certainly helped. That helped, and probably the second biggest thing is we played Florida Southern. They were in our conference. And I mean, there were years where we would play Florida Southern 4 or 5 times because it's the closest school, and we can get them on a midweek and a home and home on top of our weekend series. So I mean, we played them a lot. We had recruited half of their roster. I'm sure they had recruited half of our roster, and we got half and half. And it was one of those things where the construction of the roster we were inheriting was such that okay, there are people who should be returning are really good players, but it wasn't. I mean, you had to graduate a ton, and so it was like, okay, we need to go hit the portal because we weren't going to sign any high school guys, right? The high school guy that was going to have an impact with us was already signed somewhere else, and so the only other option left was to retain the guys we wanted to retain, and then go after dudes in the portal from places that we trust. You can't
Mhm.
you can't just get a guy out of the. I mean, you can, but you're rolling the dice, right? Like I can be really good on a phone call. You really have no idea what I'm like on just a regular phone call. So like you got to get guys from people and places that you trust because you really only have like 6 months from a culture piece. Once that first 6 months window closes, and if the culture's in a wrong place, it becomes a 6 year window because then you got to wait for dudes to turn over and leave. So
Mhm.
you got to make sure you get the right people in that first right out of the gate from a culture piece. And we were unbelievably lucky. Like both of you are world-class human beings. Like Fitz is an awesome human. We know Mike's a good human. Like Chris McKenna would have done anything to win for anyone on any given day. Like we got and there's 1,000 other dudes. I don't want to miss anyone, but when you start naming dudes, you miss someone. But I mean, all of those core group of guys who were older that were coming back were just unbelievable humans. I mean, Brady Dory, you could have asked Brady Dory to do anything to help us when he would have done it.
Mhm.
And those people genuinely felt that way. So we got lucky. I mean, we had to hit the portal hard to have a roster, and then the eligibility stuff went down that way, which helped. But I mean, there's everyone that came back were just genuinely really good people. I mean, Jevin and Sean, were you going to find? I mean, those are like 10 out of 10 people. Like people, not players, people, and that was such a big
So is culture more important than talent, or the
well, well, you
It's
culture,
a
not
big part.
culture,
It's a
but
big
I guess not
team
personality, but
team
intangibles?
camaraderie,
I'll
how
say
the team
this.
bonds.
You talent and OD will say this, and this I have stolen this line from OD because it's true. If you're talented, you get to be 500. You'll be 500 with talent. What happens after that, I'm not like that. That's really a player thing. Talent is a necessary condition. You must have it to win. It's not a necessary condition to winning a championship. A lot of talented teams don't win a national championship. Dozens of talented teams don't win the national championship. The one universal trait in all sports, football, basketball, baseball, any team sport, the dude always goes in front of the mic and goes, "Oh man, this group is an awesome group. We're so tight, we're so together." Like look at the Dodgers. It's the highest payroll probably in the history of baseball. No one stood up there and said, "Oh my goodness, well we won because we have Shohei." No one said that. They all said, "Man, we love each other. Like, dude, we're going out golfing with each other. Their wives are hanging out." Like that doesn't happen. Like the least talented team we took to Omaha in my 3 years there probably was the one we won it all with. But that was the team that was the most together, but that was also the toughest team. That team, I mean, there's a laundry list of injuries that team went through and played with. The injuries that team played with in Omaha, not even like the other stuff. Dude, it makes my skin crawl thinking about. We got dudes playing on one ankle and broken hands. How do you do that? Like it's unbelievable. So it's not a necessary condition to win, but it's a necessary condition to win a championship. That's for sure.
feel
I
like
would
it's
completely agree with that.
yeah, it must be. I mean, you've been doing it for a while, I guess, but like it's easy to scout talent. Like this guy's got power, he's got speed, he's throwing hard. And I know you have phone calls with these guys, but like, how do you really know if he's going to be a good culture fit? You just got to go off what other people are saying, or
Well, I mean, you call his previous coaches, right? Like, I mean, that's always your big indication because the coaches aren't going to lie to each other. And you'd be shocked, like
But I feel like some high
baseball.
school coaches would.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They're gonna want to hype up their guys no matter if he wasn't good.
I will say that well, it's a lot of it's tough because there's a very good group of high school coaches and really the I-4 corridor from Daytona all the way to Tampa, Clearwater, really in Tampa, where like they've been doing it for so long. Like, well, they won't lie because they know in 2 or 3 years you're going to call for another guy or you won't. Like so it's calling previous coaches and summer ball. Summer ball has become such a big thing. Like, dude, I can track someone down that played with you in summer ball. And that's usually a pretty good indication because like your college coaches aren't there, your parents aren't there, your best friends aren't there. Like you can recreate yourself in summer ball whichever way you want because you're 1,000 miles from home. You can choose to be whoever you want in summer ball, like, and that usually lasts for about a week and a half. And then the stripes come out. You can't change the stripes on a zebra. It's just a fact of life. So there's ways to figure that stuff out. Social media is a big one. I mean, everyone's going to act on social media. I get it. I do. But there at some point you could be like, this is suspect. I don't really dig this, So there's ways all around that stuff.
And when you do, I guess, what's kind of like your process when it comes to recruiting? Is there been a time where you just go watch a guy, maybe talk to him or call him after and he's like, all right, yeah, yep, this is it. Like you just have that intuition, or does it usually take a couple weeks?
Well, I mean, from the ability standpoint, I mean, there's 3 A's to recruiting: ability, academics, attitude. Like
Was awesome
attitude. Yes, and so those are the 3, and you can change those words. I like it because I think alliterations are a good mnemonic device. But at some point, you're gonna evaluate all 3 of those things. The ability stuff is pretty simple to evaluate one way or another. Like the dude either throws good enough to get outs or he doesn't. Period. Right? Like you can either get hitters out or you're not. Like it's baseball. You're either out or you're safe. Not gonna let you tie. So it's that part's easy. Because I mean, catching's unbelievably hard to evaluate. That's probably the hardest position to evaluate because there's so much that goes into it. So that typically takes longer. Your shortstop typically takes long because it's such an important position. You can't get it wrong. But I mean, the ability stuff is easy. It's all the other stuff. Like, okay, like academically, can you survive here? Is this a good fit? Like you can't say, well, I'm a 2.4 GPA, but I want to study business. That doesn't line up. Not here. Not with our business school. Business school is one of the highest ranked small college business schools in the country. Like you have to be a good student. Like so you got to evaluate that and everything like that. And then does this fit? Does this make sense? Like are you going to come here? Is this going to be a fit for you? Because it fits a 2-way street. Like the kids got to figure that out too. So I've gone to fields where it's like, yeah, I'll take that kid right now. He could for sure play for me. But like, what about the other 315 days of the year? Like are we going to have they only play 50 games in the spring, in the regular season. So there's a lot of other days and times of the year. So there's a ton that goes into that. The ability piece is easy. A lot of the other stuff gets hard.
Talking about fits, that's what was crazy to me whenever I went to Florida Southern that year, was how fast that team clicked. Like, was that a worry between the coaching staff on having all these guys in there for 1 year? You guys were kind of worried that if that team was going to click or not, but it was actually crazy how fast we all got along.
It was, I think we were shocked. I thought we had good personalities, right? Like, I didn't think, well, I knew we had good people. That's the first step. And I thought we had personalities that like people wanted to be around. But I mean, the age discrepancy on that team was pretty large, like you have dudes that are 24 years old, and we had to get them to care about dudes who are 18 years old. Like socially, what does a 24-year-old and an 18-year-old have in common? And I always take the age differential the other way. What does a senior in high school who's 18 years old have anything socially in common with a seventh grader that's 12? It's the same age difference. It's just the other way. So like you have to get the 24-year-old and the 18-year-old to care about each other. That it wasn't a worry, but it was something like, okay, like this is unbelievably important because there's a lot of new guys. And on top of there being a lot of new guys, there's a brand new staff. So everyone's new. Every single person was new. I was new to all of you. I mean, I've coached against Duffy at multiple places, but he didn't know me. So like everyone was new all at once. So we were all new together, if that makes sense. So you know what I think was awesome? The volunteer stuff we did in the fall, I think was awesome.
Yeah, that was
because
good.
I think it got people in a situation where you looked around and said, oh my goodness, this hurricane just came through and these people have lost their homes. So whatever problem you think you have with your swing, it's really not that big of a problem. Okay, so it gave you guys some perspective, but also like, hey, you're going to crawl into these homes and you're going to rip drywall off the wall. It's just that simple. Like you're all going to do it, but you're all going to do it together. You're going to be filthy. Bugs are going to be crawling up on you and everything like that. It's going to be hot, but you're going to do it together. And it's got nothing to do with baseball. And I think looking back on it, that was one of probably the more important things we did that year, baseball or not baseball, because it got you guys in a situation it was somewhat social, but you guys were doing something that had nothing to do with sports. And that was really cool because it was a pretty unique situation, but it was good for you. It was like team building without like the fun, I guess you'd say. Like usually people say team building and they're going to Top Golf or they're going paintballing or something like that, whatever it is. Like this was team building and we're going to help change people's lives, at least a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think that ended up was a good thing, but I mean, that was crazy because everyone was new, every single person. So we got lucky. We got lucky with you guys, and we can't take credit for that. You guys should. That was you guys.
I think one of the biggest things is, and I'm sure both you guys see this all the time, freshmen coming in, they were obviously probably one of the better players on their high school team. So they come into college, think they're the shit a little bit. And the freshman class, whenever I was there, was unbelievable. Like, unbelievable. Like, they kind of bought into they probably weren't going to get a lot of playing time because we had an older team. So they just sat back and just soaked in as much as they could from all of us. Like they were so open to everything. They literally wanted to learn as much as they possibly could. And they weren't going to step on our toes. And they knew if they didn't step on our toes, we weren't going to step on their toes. So it was literally the best possible situation.
Well, I mean, you got to start at the start. Though they're really good people.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're one, okay, let's really start at the start. They were raised right. Okay, they had good parents. They understood and they had some perspective about what was going on. And by no fault of their own, they're in a situation they probably didn't close their eyes and think they were getting themselves into. Okay, so and I get it, but I mean they're really good kids, and I'm stuck to say that now. They're really good young adults, but that starts and then. I mean, when the voice at the top player wise, right? Like, and we preach it as coaches, every staff preaches it, right? Like we're not reinventing the wheel in that conversation, but you guys did that. Like you guys invited him out to dinner. I didn't take him to dinner. Like you guys ate with him as in the cafeteria. I didn't. None of the coaching staff did. Like it's so simple. You know what a really good way is to get to know somebody? Go eat with them. Like you guys are 20, 22, 23, 24 years old. Mikey was 30. It feels like sometimes, but he's eating breakfast with them. Like, how you get people to care about them first. So I think, I mean, that's where the credit goes. I mean, that's a player thing. That has nothing to do with us, like we can preach it and reinforce it, but like you guys have to do it. And it's really hard for older guys because you have girlfriends and you got your own groups and the age that you can't hop in a DeLorean and change the age difference. The age, it just is what it is. Like, but you do have to include them, and you have to include them in things that they want to do. You can't just say, hey, let's watch this movie. Well, you're not going to talk to each other during the movie unless you're being really rude, So that's really a you guys thing that you guys get the credit on that. We had very little to do with that, if anything at all.
Well, we made it mandatory and I'm not even kidding. I think every person went every single Friday to Wild Greg's, which that is going to be the worst. That is going to be the worst thing for that program. Wild Greg's shutting down because that place was awesome. And it
Oh,
was
yeah.
18 and up to get there. It was the best situation possible. We made it mandatory. Everyone had to go. And everyone did.
I
So,
I, I I don't even know what that place is.
well, I'm just telling you, even if you don't know, terrible for Lakeland, Florida Southern's baseball team, that place is shut down. Wouldn't
R.I.P.
you agree?
Well,
Yeah, wouldn't you agree, Duff? I mean, I know Duff's going to agree with me on that.
Yeah, that was a great team bonding place. Sad to see it go, but
Yes.
is what it is. Had our good times there, but no, everyone off the field was always great. Even if we, did a cookout, Graham would be grilling at the house, and we would have, bags or whatever it was in the backyard. We'd maybe have like 15, 20 people there, things like that. Everyone was always good. I feel like no one was different off the field. Like everyone was always the same person off the field as they were on, which was good, which was really good. But I was going to ask, oh yeah, so it's kind of funny now, Dubs, that it's 2 years. What's it been? 2 years, year and a half ish now. Or I guess it's only been, about a year and a half.
year and some change. Year and some change.
You're in some change, yeah. What do you, as you being a coach, like, have you seen, or what do you think is like the most important trait for someone that's finishing up their college career or professional, whatever it is, their sports career? What do you think is the number one most important trait that you need to take from your sport and apply it to real life? Because I've seen, like, even myself and other people, and that's usually who I coach is the former, athlete. It's not easy for a lot of people, but to make that transition. But what do you think is like the number one most important trait that you can take from your playing days or your career to real life?
Man, the first word in my head is probably consistency, and that goes to a routine, right? And
Mhm.
it's obviously as athletes and as coaches, we give you some of that routine and structure with it, but people lose their way because they go from all the structure. I'm going to do this and then this and then this and then this at both. The 30,000-foot view at the macro level, and then at the micro level, like, yeah, I have a routine, but I'm going from big routine to cage routine and how I get warmed up and everything like that. So they go from all this structure to do whatever you want.
It's dangerous.
And nature hates a vacuum. It hates a vacuum. So you go, like, think about it, right? Like, if you go from playing college baseball or college sports, whatever it is, and then you go corporate job and 4:59 turns to 5 o'clock on Friday, you don't have any structure till 9 a.m. the next Monday. You can do whatever you want all weekend. Like, I can count on 5 hands how many weekends I have in a year where I do wherever I want. That's like, even as a coach, like as a player, I mean,
Mhm.
you got stuff, so the consistency piece in terms of a routine, and it doesn't have to be a big routine. Like, okay, what's your routine in the morning? How do you like, do you work out before work, after work, whatever it is? Like, you got to have some sort of plan that you can command and repeat. And then, man, like, mental toughness, and of course, that's an easy thing for a coach to say because we're constantly preaching it. But, like, man, like, there's some things in life that are hard, like hard. Whether it's your job, relationships, your family, what you got going on at work, like, okay, like, you got to deal with real life stuff that now have real life consequences. Like, okay, you got to deal with this at work. And if you're not good at it, you get fired. Simple, super simple. Like, okay, it's a lot different than, man, if I don't hit this breaking ball, I'm out. Well, like, okay, well, it's the third inning, bro. You're gonna hit again. Bad news. You messed this up bad enough in your real job. There's no fifth inning at bat. Ball game, you're out. They give you a box, chunk the deuces up. It's over. So, like, being able to, I mean, not hyper focus on that. Like, I don't know if that should be negative motivation in that sense, but
Insight.
being
Yeah.
mental toughness and just doing what you got to do, and whatever it is. And I think, those two things probably stand out the most. That's where people get in trouble. They equate the lack of routine to a lack of importance in something. And the next thing you know, you're probably underachieving professionally, which that's not how you want to live.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And when you say mental toughness, everyone knows, like, what 80%, 90% of baseball, whatever you want to say, is mental toughness. So I mean,
Mhm.
just life in general, I've kind of figured out. But how do you really, just be mentally tough? Just like people say, just be consistent, just do this, just do that. But how do you actually build mental toughness, though? Everyone goes to not everyone goes to the gym, but majority of people go to the gym and everyone works out. As a baseball player, I know we had a coach to help us with mental toughness, but how do
Yeah.
Tukes.
Yep.
About no point does Tukes run from failure. The whole point of Tukes is embracing that at some point you're going to fail. It's going to happen. And it doesn't, and I think that's probably the first step, right? Is you have to accept that you're going to fail. It's happening. You probably have to accept that you're going to fail in public, and you're going to do it in front of people, especially if your job isn't like, you're going to fail as a player all the time. And it could be, man, I made an error and that error was the reason we lost the game, which is never true. But I know that's what players think. That's how I thought, like, or as a coach, like, man, like that practice was not very good, or I didn't explain this right and we did it crappy and I failed. And of course, it's as a coach, when you fail because you fail in front of 40 dudes. That's a pretty easy thing to nail down. But you have to accept that you're going to fail. You have to accept that you're going to fail probably multiple times in public. And getting your head wrapped around that's very difficult. It's difficult for a lot of people, even athletes. But then how you've got to find a healthy way to cope with that. And that's what made Tube special. It was not, man, we're going to go out there, we're going to go undefeated, and it's going to be great, and we're all going to be in this parade together. No, we're going to be in the parade together at the end. It's probably going to be really hard, and we'll probably have to overcome some stuff, and it's going to do nothing but include, it's going to feature failure, and you've got to learn to embrace that in your way. And I laugh when I fail or I do something stupid, I laugh. That's just how, if that's a coping mechanism, it is what it is. Sometimes I get sarcastic, like, oh, well, good job, Mitch. That was a really good idea, when it was not, so you've got to figure out a way to kind of release that tension and address that with yourself mentally. But I mean, that's the first thing. You have to, it doesn't matter what you do, unless you work in Antarctica by yourself, you're going to fail in front of people. It's just going to happen. And you've got to find a way to address that and get yourself to relax and handle it. I think that's the first thing to mental toughness. It's not working till 3 a.m. every night. That's probably not the route. It's understanding you're going to have to deal with this, and you're going to have to probably have pretty good problem solving skills. But the first step to solving the problem is understanding it. And you got to have a clear mind and when you go to do that. So that's probably where it starts and finishes. There's really no complex answer to this. There's only a complex answer if that's what you really need, and most people don't need that.
I think the biggest thing is figuring out how to not let those failures stack on each other. Like baseball, if you fail once, how do I flip the switch and not let it turn from game to game to game? It's like the same with everyday life. If you have a bad day, how are you going to wake up that next morning and have a good day? And I think that was a big thing Tukes preached that definitely helped me, and I think helped the entire team, is how do we stay here and not just like ride a wave, because whenever I was going bad at times in my college career, I felt like I was going bad. And that's because I was mentally in my head telling myself like, man, you suck. I mean, I'm sure, Duff, you went through the same shit whenever you're going through your injuries and you had that first year at Polk. But you just got to find some way mentally to stay just here. You just can't get too high or too low. And that's also a big thing with everyday life now.
Well, that's the consistency piece, right? Like, you want to ride the mill. Okay, well, you're staying consistent, right? Like, not trying to be in the Hall of Fame every day, just trying to do a good job every day. Where in whoever's eyes that is, like, that's the consistency piece. That's the routine piece. Like, man, you tend to believe in yourself a little bit better when you have a plan, because you're not leaving it up to chance. And the plan and a routine is helpful on both ends of the equation, right? Like, yeah, you have a routine in the cage or whatever you do, whether it's baseball, sports, your profession, whatever it is. If you have a routine of some sort that makes you better, one, it makes you better on the front end. Okay. But on the back end, when you fail, you have something to go back to. It's that simple. Like, man, like, I did a lot of preparation, didn't go right back to the preparation. You got to either prepare better or you got to prepare more efficiently, whatever that looks like. Like, that's what it is. It's consistency and it's having a routine. And now you've got to believe in the routine. That's the important piece. But that's what that is, right? Like, it's different. It's the same language in different accents, as I like to say.
And as you said earlier, I mean, everything's written out for you in college. We had our workout plans written out for us. Like, we're going to work out Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So you have to be there. And then obviously we'd have our practice times, and then it's all written out what you're going to do for practice that day. But whenever you get to everyday life, like, you have those weekends that you say are quote unquote, you can do whatever you want. You almost have to get yourself to write out what you want to accomplish for that day, because then those weekends are just going to start stacking up as bad weekends. I know Duff went through it. I went through it. We get out of college baseball and we're like, what's the point of us working out, staying in shape? And then next thing you know, it just catches up with you like that. And then you feel like shit. And then you're like, what am I doing now with my life? I have no structure. So you have to write out your own plan and stay with that consistency now is the biggest thing. And it gives you a purpose in life. I think that's something Duff and I talk about all the time.
Yeah, definitely.
Go ahead. Go ahead. You go ahead. Duff.
No, you got it. No, go.
I think so. Like, I don't. Oh my. Yeah, he got to use the restroom already. He's not locked in for real. So like, I'm a big cross off guy. Like I have a notebook at my desk, and like if I need to do something, whether it's send an email, buy food for you guys, like whatever it is, big or small, I write it down. So when I'm done, I get to cross it off. Like I have pages and pages and pages in a notebook on my desk of just crossed out stuff. Like because I get something out of crossing it off. It's done. It's done. And whether it's big or small, text this dude or make sure the hotel knows we're coming in at 11 p.m. You know, whatever it is, like you do it, cross it off. And I think that's lost in today's age of like all these digital calendars because like you can't like I deleted it. Well, it's not the same thing. You know, it's not because like,
Right.
oh man, this thing made me angry. I'm gonna cross it off like really hard, you know, like and then it's done and then it's gone. So it is hard, you know, being bored and bored and unproductive is not a good combination for a young man. It's not good. That's
Mm-mm.
typically where people get themselves into a lot of trouble. So yeah, you gotta pick something and try your best to do it. It could be mow the lawn. It could take 20 minutes. Hey, you mowed the lawn, you're good. Ball game. You can move
Yeah.
on. Check. Move like, man, I want to cook dinner. Do it. Cook it. Like and then all of a sudden you do it in your head and then you're crossing stuff up in your head. Well, that's where you're gonna start feeling better for yourself is in your head.
Especially at the end of the day, you feel accomplished.
1000%.
Duff and I talk, I think it was the first episode about that book TC gave
Yeah.
Duffy that says make your bed. So it's
Yeah.
like you start the day, you get that momentum going. You got that first thing accomplished for the day. So I mean, it seems like something small, but it goes a long way.
Mhm. I gave it to my roommate. He's reading it right now. He's got it in his room. So hopefully he reads it. I think he started it, but yeah, I think then that kind of goes into, I was going to say this earlier, but like focusing on like what you can control or focusing on the inputs is kind of what I tell my clients too. Like focus on the things that you can control. You can focus on, and you can control your routine, or you can focus on how many ground balls you take. You can focus on if you're tracking your food, if you actually go into the gym, focusing on all those things, not focusing on if you're going to get a hit today or if you're going to wake up and the scale is going to be down a pound. I think that's where people get caught up too. And I know at the end of the day though, like how for you as a coach, if you do everything right, or you guys like accomplish the game plan, but you still might come out with a loss though. How do you see that, I guess, in your eyes? If you did everything, you guys were hitting the ball hard, making the right pitches, they were just getting dink hits, like obviously it's a loss in the book, right? But how do you kind of go about that, I guess, in your own head?
Well, it really helps you get over that if you believe in what you're coaching.
Mm.
If you believe in what you're coaching and the process and the way you went about it was more or less positive and it didn't go your way, well then it didn't go your way. You know, you can't you I mean, we're playing baseball. And for people that have never played baseball before, they have no idea what that means. But every baseball player knows exactly what I mean when I say that. Like we're playing baseball. Like you could find yourself in a 3-1 count 4 times and line out to the center fielder 4 times.
Mm.
Okay, well, does it mean you're a bad player? No. Does it mean your swing was bad? No. And it doesn't mean you're a worse player than the dude who got 4 and 2 dink base hits over the first baseman's head. It doesn't. So at the baseline, you've got to separate the process and the result, and that's just classic coach speak, right? Like, but at the same time, if you believe as a coach, if you do genuinely believe in what you're coaching and the route we're going as a program, then it's just the human variable. You know, like the game's not played on paper. You guys are not robots. You're real people. And you're by the way, you're real college kids. Like let's not not take that variable out of the equation. Like yeah, you could be 23, 24 years old, but if you failed that test before you came to the field that day, that's going to be playing in your mental when you swing. It could be 1%, it could be half of 1%. I don't know. I'm not in your head. I have no desire to be either. But that's a real human factor. That's what we signed up for. You don't get into this because you think you're never going to run into issues with people. You're coaching people. They just also happen to be baseball people.
Mhm. And how do you, as a coach, then like obviously this is your passion, and how do you reset after a game, even if everything went right, but at the end of the day, it's still a loss. How do you reset mentally? Is it, I know some people take off their jersey, or I've heard some people say they take a shower and wash it off and then they're done, or maybe whatever it is. How do you reset and come back ready for the next day? Or if you have a double header, even those ones are tough. If you
Mhm.
lose the first double header and the next game's in 45 minutes, what's your reset? How do you reset and get back to right here?
Man, this is tough because I can't stand losing. I can't. And you guys have experienced me from your end about that. That's that's something that I battle with all the time because I mean, there's times where I have to check myself, like 15 minutes after a game is over. Like I'm not done thinking about it. Like I'm still hot over something. It doesn't mean I'm hot at any one person, but if you gave me a wood bat, I try my best to break it over my head, Bo Jackson style, because I'm so angry, like that's a real thing. And I think coaches don't have that mastered either. It's funny. I used to always drink a Diet Coke before a game. And that was like my ritual, been my ritual for a long time. And people think that's funny or whatever. And I get hype over it or whatever. But like, man, like I know when I go to drink a new Diet Coke, I'm about to start a new game because I never drink 2 per game. One, it's because it's probably terrible for my teeth, but it's got to brush your teeth every night and floss. Got to do that.
Okay. Yep.
That's a part of my routine. I floss every night. That's a routine for you. So I know when I crack open a Diet Coke, and this is kind of facetious, but it's also kind of serious. Like, hey, like this is a new game.
That's fair. Yeah.
And that's a thing. And like, I don't know, I can take a couple deep breaths. Like I'm usually the write the lineup on the wall guy. Maybe I wasn't that so much of this year, but that's typically been my thing. Like, okay, like you're writing a new lineup on the wall. This one's a lot more blank than the last one, for good or for bad. So that's the thing. And I mean, dude, you get over it at some point. You get a lot of practice with leaving it and stuff like that because you've got to coach the next game. It's your job. You must coach this game, and the only thing worse than losing one game is losing the game right after it because you're still angry about the shit that happened 45 minutes ago. That's yeah, it's unprofessional, but it's not very competitive. It's not very competitive. You're getting beat twice. That's not the move.
Yeah, I think when it comes to baseball, I mean, obviously I wasn't not the best at this. This is probably the hardest thing about baseball is when it comes down to winning every single pitch. And actually, if you really focus on just winning every single pitch, you can't think about the last one. And when it comes to this, like day-to-day life too, you can't just let one little thing, someone cut you off in traffic, ruin your whole day. Or you can't let one bad call, ruin the at-bat or the game. I think if people could, I don't know if you could ever really master that or not, but I think that that's a very important thing that if you can work on that, should, but again, it's a hard thing to work on, I think.
I think the toughest piece is you at some point functionally you can care too much. And that's not from an emotional piece. It's not from a desire piece, but everything has a lethal dose. Everything in the universe has a lethal dose, and emotions certainly count in that. But functionally in the moment, you can care too much. And I think that becomes very dangerous because you caring too much is affecting what you want. And that's counterintuitive. It's counterproductive, but that's one of the things where, you can care an awful lot and that's great. But if you're in it and how much you care is stopping you from achieving that, then functionally you're in a bad spot. You're not where you need to be.
Yeah. I think as hitters, I guess I can kind of see what you're saying because sometimes as hitters, we're like, damn, I'm just going to go out there and say screw it. And you end up, hitting. Yeah. I don't ever understood how that happened, but I guess, yeah, that is true.
And something to add about whenever we're going back to control the controllables, that was my favorite thing at Florida Southern. We preached a lot on quality at bats because I know earlier in my college career and a lot of other kids would get caught up in the, oh shit, I went 0 for 4 today. It's going to drop my batting average. And they're getting all worked up about stuff you have no control of. Like you could hit 4 balls hard, but at the end of the day, you're looking at that 0 for 4 on the stat sheet and you're like, shit. But whenever I was at Southern, that was the big thing we always preach is, man, if you have 4 quality at bats, who gives a shit if you didn't have a single hit? And that's all you're thinking about is being productive for the team. The results come at the end. And I think that's the same way with life now is you just stack up those things you can control every single day, your nutrition, your fitness, having that routine. The results not going to come right away, but in a month, 2 months from now, you're going to start seeing the results.
Yeah, get you a quad. Hey,
yes.
You need to come back and teach this quad chart. You need to get this stuff going.
I know Sean was teaching it to the high schoolers in Winter Haven, and he said they're doing really good with it. He was teaching.
He should. He should. It's awesome. It's great, dude. It's the best thing. And people.
It is.
People always are like, well, what stats do you keep in the fall? I go, well, okay, somewhat selfishly as the infield guy, I chart like fielding percentage and stuff we need to do, but I'm not like tied up into that number or whatever. But the only stat we ever kept in the fall is quality at bats. Everything else is from the offensive side it is what it is,
Guys that are wanting to go play, I guess hitters specifically, because none of us here are hitters, obviously, but guys that are going into high school or going into college, wanting to play college, like what is a quality at bat? Like how does someone focus on that and not get wrapped up in the batting average.
So, well, I mean, a lot of places are going to define their quality at bats any which way. I mean, hit, walk, error, hit by pitch, is 7 or 8. Places are different, 7 or 8 pitches and everything like that. Like any RBI, any executing the game situation. We call it a hard hit ball, any ball in the 3 to 8 scale. I don't want to, give all our secrets away for the internet, but there are a lot of places define that different ways. But I mean, it's about getting your pitch and whacking it, square it up. And sometimes you're going to square it up straight in the ground. Sometimes you're going to square it up straight up. It is what it is. That's going to happen. Get your pitch and do your best to get the barrel to it and understand what you can and cannot do. If you're me and you're 5'9" barefoot on concrete, you should not be on that top net of the batting cage. You should not. That's just not the recipe for success. If you're built like Jack Duffy, and you got these long limbs and you're left-handed and you've had 1,000 at-bats in college because you got 8.5 years under your belt, you scammed everybody, then you know which pitch you can leave the yard on and which pitch you can't, and you can kind of be mature like that. But it's understanding who you are, and then, get your pitch and bracket. Find a way to square it up. And if you're getting what you think is your pitch and you're not, well, then then we can start to have a mechanical conversation. But if you're like, my goodness, like I'm squaring everything up, but I'm only hitting X, like, well, I got bad news for you, bro. The shortstop's been playing there for 180 years. So you might want to figure out a way to hit it not right at him. Okay. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it happens. Like, I'm sure you got a couple dink hits you don't remember, so it all evens out. It's find a way to get on first base safely. If you can find a way to get on first base safely, then you've got a chance to play every day, because that's the hardest base to reach. If you can get on first base safely as often as you can, you got a pretty good chance.
No matter how you get there, just get there.
Doesn't matter. We're not picky.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what, talking about like the little things with baseball, this travel ball stuff is getting out of hand with like the parents. Like some of the comments they make, kid you not, I had a parent come up to me like a few weeks ago and it's like, hey, how hard were you throwing on the mound whenever you're 10 years old? And I'm like, you think anyone was tracking that whenever I was 10 years old, or just at whatever age? I'm like, whenever I was 10 years old, I know personally I was being taught the, mental side of the game and trying to play the game the right way. And now the fact that parents are worried about how hard their kid throws at 10, 11, 12 years old is just beyond me. And it's like, I'll go to a game and it'll be like guy on third, 1 out, the middle's playing back, corners in, and the kid is up there hitting a foul ball down the third base line, trying to hit a home run, rolling over. And I'm like, okay, this is the exact problem with our game now.
I think the thing is here's the thing about travel ball, and I've done the travel ball thing, and I think it can be unbelievably rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
I think it serves a phenomenal purpose, but it can be unbelievably toxic too, right? And that's again, that's the human element. Like, the travel ball product is going to be what the travel ball coach is. That's how it goes. That's really any sport, but it's probably specifically travel baseball, because there's about like 2 rules, and I don't even know if they follow those 2 rules. I don't even know what those 2 rules are, but that seems like the right number to me sometimes. So it's about teaching the game. Teach the game. Period. Whatever the game is, the good parts of it, the bad parts of it. Like, if you teach the game that's in front of them. And that varies from age to age. Like, you're 1,000% right. Like, dude, you're worried about how hard you throw. If you can't throw 55% strikes at 10 years old, how is it going to matter? Because you ain't going to pitch.
Yeah.
But if you don't throw 55 to 60% strikes at 10 years old, it doesn't matter how hard you throw, because you're not going to pitch. Because that's just how it is. Like, I had a travel ball parent. This is my favorite travel ball interactions ever. And this is about on the tail end of my experience in travel ball, because this conversation drove me up a wall. So we had a really good team. I'm not going to say where or what age or anything like that, but we could not, for the life of me, we could not get over the hump. Like, in the second game of elimination play, we win all our pool play games. We win the first game, but it doesn't matter if there were 10 teams in this tournament or 110 teams. That second game always beat us. And a parent's coming up to me in the parking lot, which is never a good idea. Okay. And they're like, hey, why can't we win this game? Like, is this team not good enough to win the second game? And of course, like, we know what that translates to. And I'm like, well, I hate to break the news to you. Your kid has played every inning of every second game of elimination play we've played this summer. So if we're not good enough, there's not that many other common denominators.
Hmm.
Okay. And that
Hmm.
had never crossed their mind.
Yeah.
It's like, well,
Yeah.
if my kid's playing shortstop for all of these games and we can't win one of these games and I never take him out of shortstop, what are we talking about here?
It is just crazy with some of these parents. They have no self-awareness on stuff.
None.
Like some of the comments they make, they will come across as the smartest people in the world, but then you're just like, you have no self-awareness on some stuff.
I mean, and this is a trope that college and baseball coaches use against that. It's like a bunch of people that have never played baseball before, and at some parts it's true, and some parts it's not true. And you get, again, human element. These are their kids. Like, they have a vested interest in this in more ways than one. First vested interest, it's their kid. It's that's half their DNA. And the other vested interest, they're paying money. They are. That's just a fact of life. You know, they are paying money to have this experience, and they want a good experience. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's also a sport. And again, it's a sport where the best team doesn't always win. And especially if you're trying to teach stuff, like you could win a lot of 10U baseball games doing stuff that wouldn't work in 11U. You could. It's just about, you know, you got to advertise it the right way. You got to get the right people, but it's tough and it will not change. And it didn't matter, dude. Baseball, football, basketball, volleyball, golf. Maybe not golf, because it's not a team sport, but you know what I'm saying? Like, these are people's kids, and they want it to be like a lot of other things, which is a natural, steady, upward, linear progression. That's what people want, because they think it's an investment, because they're investing their time and money. So a lot of their other investments have a straight line increase. Okay. Well, baseball's not like that. You're going to be here and then here and then here and then all the way above the screen and then back down again. Like that's why we play so many games. So it's tough. It's tough for a lot of people. It really is.
Before we get ready to wrap this up, I had to bring this up. So I played in that alumni baseball game in Lafayette. I think it was a week ago, which I actually met a kid coming into Florida Southern, handed bat is for the
Yeah. So who
Aviators.
you're talking about? Yeah. Good player. Yep.
Yeah, he is. He is. And I told him, it's like, yeah, you're gonna have a good time at Southern. No, not like that. I was just saying, just because it was an awesome experience there. I would recommend to anyone going into the college baseball realm to go to Florida Southern, because it is first class. I've told everyone that.
I
But
appreciate that.
no, absolutely. But both of us playing at Florida Southern, we kind of want to know what to look forward to next year with some of the guys coming in. Obviously, last year you had your ups and downs, looking to bounce back this year. So what can we look forward to this upcoming year?
Well, I think the first thing is what we should. I say this, we haven't even had them on campus yet, so I ain't thrown BP to nobody, everything like that. But from the reason we recruit a lot of these guys, we should be more dynamic offensively. We will definitely be more left-handed. That will certainly be the case. We will be older. In a bunch of different ways. Some of that is natural progression from the true freshmen that played. I mean, dude, we were playing games last year, meaningful games with 5 to 6 either true or redshirt freshmen in the lineup every day. So the natural progression of that is they've played a bunch with us, and they've gone out and played summer ball. So they'll be more mature and more experienced naturally. But I mean, we'll probably have about 15, 16 transfers, either from junior college or the portal that will be older. They'll be more experienced. They're more dynamic guys, and they'll give us different dimensions of stuff that we want to do. I expect us to be really good on the mound again. I expect us to play really good defense. That will probably, those two things especially will always be a staple with us. But I think we're going to benefit a lot from a lot of the stuff we went through. And there's some guys coming in that I think are really good personalities. And that's not to say the past year's group didn't have great personalities. We had some world-class people on that team. I'm not saying that was not the case, but I think there's a really good mix of people and skill sets coming in that give us options really in a bunch of different facets in our program, that not that we didn't have last year. I think we had it. It was just they've done it before now. And there's, like I said before, you can't hop in the DeLorean and speed up the aging process. You can't slow it down. We've gotten older in a league where you're going to play 27 innings in 24 hours against really good teams. And a lot of the teams you're playing, I mean, dude, we're not the only other team in our conference bringing in 15 transfer dudes. Everyone is, you know, that's a staple of our league. So we needed to get older quickly. And I think we did that. And I think we brought the right guys in for sure. We're looking forward to it. That's for sure. We're excited.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Duff, you want to wrap things up with our weekly non-negotiable?
Yep, I was about to say. I thought you forgot there for a second. No, so what we do at the end is we all set one weekly non-negotiable that we got to hold ourselves to until next week. So do you have anything that you could think of, maybe off the top of your head, that you've been trying to work on, or like a habit maybe that you're trying to break, or just something that you're trying to work on? Doesn't have to be anything like crazy, but is there something that maybe you wanted to work on to maybe to hold yourself accountable to for the week?
Ooh, that's a good one. I didn't see this is interesting. I'm probably gonna probably a little bit better about being on my phone all the time. I
Okay.
think I want to,
That's good. I like
and
that.
that's tough. Like this time, I mean, for the past 2 months, if you didn't have your phone on you, that's a problem.
Yeah.
You're gonna miss out on players, you know. So yeah, I'll get away from my phone a little bit, and that's not to say, I'm not taking days off from work or nothing, but
Doom
I don't,
scrolling.
I definitely could probably go for a walk without Spotify playing.
Mhm.
I don't think that's a requirement. I have to do that. Just like, hey, like go figure some stuff out and be away from my phone a bit. That'll be my submission. I think I'll let you know how I do.
Okay. I like it. I like it.
What
Grant,
about you, Duff?
you think? Or
Me? Yeah, mine is I've been drinking less energy drinks, and this week I want to start writing out my plan because I'm training for a half marathon in 7 weeks, Dubs. I ran a 5K last week, so this week I want to write out structured on how much I'm going to run every single day, and obviously I'm lifting too. So, yep, I'm gonna journal more
hell yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
What about you, Duff?
Mine's going to be, I think, I'm thinking of two things. They could probably go hand in hand, but I have a really, really bad habit of when I first wake up in the morning. I mean, my alarm usually goes off. Sometimes I wake up before, but I usually grab my phone and I am scrolling, looking through something, and I'm already putting myself into like that, like reacting to social media, whatever's on there. So I think going the first 30 minutes without my phone, obviously I got to turn the alarm off, right? But besides that, don't touch anything on my phone for the first 30 minutes, I would say, of the day, and actually do like without touching my phone, doing my routine, morning routine, all that stuff. So I'm gonna try really hard not to do that and see how I feel, because everyone says you feel great when you don't do that. So
Yep,
that's my
that's awesome.
that's what I got.
That's
Duff,
awesome.
you're the workout man now. Are you gonna train for a 5K or what? You don't run?
So I'm actually training for, it's called an Apex event. And I don't know how this is going to go, because I've been doing it for the last 2 weeks, and both of my toes on both of my feet and both of my shoulders, I was doing single arm overhead press and I started sprinting, and it is killing me. So I don't know.
Lord knows that shoulder can't take any more. That thing. I'm shocked there's dust not coming out of there. Dang.
As long as there's
Hey,
no
I just want to let you
eyes.
know, if your toes go bad, nothing on your body's gonna work. So you better protect those toes now. Maybe your ears will be all right. Only the tops though. You got to figure out something to stay up. I mean, God dang, that's tough.
So yeah, to answer that question, I don't know. I might just have to stick to the bodybuilding. I don't know.
Yeah, stay. Stay getting that paintbrush on all those fake abs you got. You were a little aggressive on the first one, for being honest.
I know. No,
That tan was a little aggressive. I
That
get
tan
it. You
was
got to.
fire. That tan was heat.
yeah.
I'm gonna.
That tan was heat, boy.
Hey, it was not. I'm not gonna say it wasn't believable, but you're really towing the line, pun intended, with your little situation you got going on. Maybe we drop it. Maybe we build back up to that. Talking about
Hell
building
no.
up,
Hell
maybe.
no.
Yeah, no, it was a lot. I'm still hurting from that. I'm still recovering. If you know like anything about like testosterone levels, they're supposed to be around. I got my blood work done. It's supposed to be around like 800 or 900 as a 25-year-old. And from the prep and the show, I'm in the 100s right now from that show. So I am hurting from that. My sleep, cortisol, all that stuff. So yeah, still recovering from that. Pretty rough.
So that's what we're blaming your problems on.
Yeah, I'm blaming on my testosterone levels are cooked right now. That's what I'm blaming it on.
All right. Okay. All right.
Yeah, we'll see though. Who knows? Who knows what's gonna happen in the future? Just focus on every day, day
Yep.
by day. From there. But
Well,
yeah,
Dubs, we really appreciate you coming on, and we'll definitely have to run this back some other time, catch up whenever the season gets going, kind of see how things are going. So,
For sure. For sure. Happy to be on here. Thanks for having me, y'all.
Appreciate
no,
you,
absolutely.
Dubs. That's episode 3 Motion Cast featuring Coach Dubs. If you guys ever have the opportunity to hear from Dubs over at Florida Southern, you should highly, 10 out of 10, 100% recommend it. Florida Southern is the place to be. Again, Dubs, we really appreciate you. Motion Cast episode 3, J Dubs, G Money. We out of here. We'll see you guys next week.